Hi there, students. A rite of passage. I think this suggestion is by Ronan. A rite of passage is a ceremony or just an informal activity that marks a stage in a person's life. This is particularly common with becoming an adult. So a rite of passage between being a child and being an adult. So I guess going to the pub and getting served is a rite of passage. Because if you look like you're 10 years old, you're never going to get served in a pub. But there comes a point where you are going to get served, and that could be seen as a rite of passage. It's a ritual or a ceremony signifying a transition from one stage to another, particularly from adolescence to adulthood. And there are many rite of passage stories or rite of passage rituals in all sorts of different societies and all different cultures, and this changes a person's status. It changes their position. So I think the bar mitzvah in Jewish culture is a rite of passage. Or very often as well, marriage can be considered a rite of passage. A rite is talking about a ritual, a customary practice and an observance. And apparently there are all sorts of psychological effects of rites of passage. That there is more unity between members of a group with rites of passage, and also perhaps more conformity as well. But a rites of passage are something that have existed throughout history, and this is clearly part of anthropology as well. Particularly in various tribes, a ritual marking the passage from a child to an adult. But there are all sorts of rites of passage. If you want to join our club, you've got to jump it into this river and swim to the other side on the 1st of January. There are as many rites of passage as there are different types of society, and it's something that marks a stage, a transition from one place to another. I guess the funeral ceremony is a rite of passage where your soul passes from from life to the afterlife, or perhaps going to high school. The high school dance is a rite of passage, or leading a delegation to China is part of a rite of passage for a political leader. Learning to drive was once an essential rite of passage for American teenagers. Losing your virginity and having sex, that's perhaps considered a rite of passage as well. There are lots and lots of different rites of passage, from joining a society. I know that the Masons have all sorts of rites of passage, until you can become part of. You have to go through the rite of passage to become part of the society. So a rite of passage, it's a significant event talking about the transition of somebody in status or in position in life. So it's an initiation rite, a debut. So marriage, though not the social imperative it once was, still is a major rite of passage into adult life. Um, Nobody wants to remain a beginner forever, and maybe there's some sort of rite of passage that shows that you are much more experienced. Um, or a rite of passage. I'm thinking hunters who go hunting and they're blooded. They have blood put on their face when their first kill is made. That is another rite of passage. So yeah, there are all sorts of rites of passage. Formality, a rite of passage. I'm going to give it a 6 in formality, but I think you could use it anywhere. And the rite, the ritual. So, rite of passage.